America's Forum continues. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Ed Berliner.
And I'm J.D. Hayworth. Ed, when my days in Washington came to a close, I said, the house is not a home. But of course, in a different context, to make a house a home, you need to be able to buy one. And we're going to talk about that right now. In metropolitan areas across our country, prospective home buyers are growing increasingly frustrated with rising home prices, a lack of inventory, and competitive bidders forcing them out of the market. According to the S&P Case-Shiller home price indices, home prices were up 13% in the 12 months through January. And in cities like Las Vegas, San Francisco, San Diego, prices climbed by as much as 20% or more. Mortgage rates increasing by almost 1 full percentage point over the past 12 months. A $200,000 30-year mortgage with 20% down now cost $896 a month, 25% more than what a borrower would have paid a year ago. Even those with no problem affording a home on their own have a hard time closing the deal. So, what happens next? Well, joining us to offer his thoughts on the challenge of home buying and housing, the CEO of Home Union, Don Ganguly. Don, we welcome you back to the forum. Can you give us your perspective from where you sit on the West Coast there in Southern California? What is fueling this housing shortage?
Well, you've got, I think you mentioned it in your lead-in, you've got tight inventory in a lot of markets. And I think what you're seeing in the country is sort of a situation of have and have-nots. And if you look at the Case-Shiller 20-city index, you'll see that it's sort of the Sun Belt cities that are holding up, and those are the ones that have probably taken the biggest beating during the recession and the housing crash. So you've got, really robust economies like San Francisco, where, apartment vacancy rates are even at like a 2 to 3%. So not only can you not, find a house to buy because of the pricing, but you've got average rents in San Francisco, which are, I think, around 2,600 or 2,000, which is only less than New York. So I think you've got a bubble in some of these big cities where prices have gone up quite a bit. I think employment looks good. San Francisco is obviously the tech boom. The interest rate factor, we make a lot of that, but if you look at 4.5%, I mean, that's historically pretty low interest rates. If it was zero, we'd compare it to zero. We compare it to 3.5, which is what it was April of last year. I think the real issue with a lot of people that can't afford it is really income growth and the kind of jobs people have today. So any small fluctuation and they're sort of out of the market. But I think if you look outside those major Sun Belt areas, you'll actually see that the affordability is a lot better for people that are buying when the inventory is there.
Don, you just said the dreaded B word in there somewhere. You used the word bubble, which most of Americans learned for a lot of years when we first had the housing issues. And let me bring this up from the Los Angeles Times. It points out today that just 43% of the homes on the market right now in L.A. are affordable by historic standards. So they're again calling this now the beginning of another bubble. And now we have 7 cities in America, the most unaffordable: Miami, L.A., San Diego, San Francisco, Denver, San Jose, and Portland. I guess the big questions now are we seeing an inevitable roll again towards another bubble to where these cities, we're going to join these cities with another dozen here in no time at all? It sure seems that way to a lot of home buyers.
Well, I think we are certainly, 20 to 25%, I think, whatever the number is, above the trough that we saw when the recession hit in the housing market. But we're still actually below the bubble highs of 2006 when things had hit a peak. And so what you saw there is really a lot of frenzied investor buying going on. I mean, there was a time that anything below 400,000 in Southern California was being picked up by investors because there was a belief that housing, houses below that price would appreciate, and a lot of them have. You look at some of the numbers that came out. About 35% of buyers are cash buyers, and I think that's incredibly high by historic standards. I mean, out of those, probably about 27% of all buyers are sort of investors, or 20% are roughly investors. So The other 15 are probably people with money that are trying to take advantage of it. So there's a whole different dynamic going on here, other than just home buyers plunking out cash and trying to buy houses. The other factor here, when we look at this home prices going up, is we need to sort of analyze the demographic of who's buying. And again, there is a huge sort of have and have not going on, and we're sort of focusing on the haves because the jobs data came out today. I mean, unemployment's at 6.7. We added 192,000 jobs, but there hasn't been real wage growth. If you break down, the 130 million jobs that we have in the U.S., about 20, there's about 18 million of those that are paid below $10 an hour. About 63 million that pay between $10 and $20 an hour, and about 27 million that pay between $20 and $30 an hour. Now you take that, and that's a major chunk of your population that's earning not at a huge level to be able to afford anything at the high end.
Now, let me say this very briefly, though. From your perspective as an expert here, are you confident, and let me just set an arbitrary date here, that within the next 2 years, you're confident that we will not see another housing bubble crisis in America?
I actually don't think we will. I mean, I think given where the buying power is, the word is you need about 5.5 million more jobs to really get back to where we were to a normal, and I think it's going to be a while before everybody's plunking down money on houses. I mean, if you look at the rental market, I mean, see how hot that is. Apartment vacancies are down. Apartment rents continue to rise. People are renting, single-family homes in hordes. I mean, that's a huge marketplace right now for investors, where people are buying single-family homes because they can't afford single-family homes to buy, so they're renting them. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. So
and Don, we're going to have to leave it there. Apparently, our Skype has tripped up a little bit. We thank you for your time and your thoughts on the home buying market. And it's always good to get your perspective today from Irvine, California. Don Ganguly, CEO of Home Union. Now, home is where the heart is. Do you take Don Ganguly's projections to heart? You agree with him on this? We love hearing from you. It's always good to have your thoughts. And here's how you get in touch with us. Via Twitter, @NewsmaxTV, #AmericasForum. There's always the old email, and our address is as follows: connect@newsmaxtv.com. And of course, there's Facebook. We're coming right back.